Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
On a more serious note, we're now joined by actor and activist Janine Garofalo. Good to see you.
Thank you. You know, there is nothing more interesting than seeing a bunch of racists become confused and angry at a speech they're not quite certain what he's saying. It sounds right to them, and then it doesn't make sense, which... Let's be very honest about what this is about. It's not about bashing Democrats. It's not about taxes. They have no idea what the Boston Tea Party was about.
That's right.
They don't know their history at all. This is about hating a black man in the White House. This is racism straight up. That is nothing but a bunch of tea-bagging rednecks. And there is no way around that. And
all right, that's enough.
Tell.
And by the way, Oberman, I've lost any respect I had for him. He sat there and made oral sex jokes for about 2 minutes before she came on. I mean, I won't even play it on radio. It's so graphic. And we've got the heir to the Astor fortune, just tens of billions in tax-free foundations, admitted CIA operative, Anderson Cooper running around making weird sexual jokes, saying that well, I'm not even going to say it. You know what? It's amazing. I mean, 98% of us, in all these polls, some are even more. Again, Congress admitted 1,000-to-1 phone calls against the banker bailout takeover. You go out and you protest it, going, my goodness, you've spent the GDP in 6 months. Bipartisan, quit it, stop it. And they say, you guys are meeting up at tea parties to have sex with each other, and you hate black people, period. Injecting race. They want to divide us, divide the American people. I mean, what can they do? You got 98% of people against something, and the government and both parties are going to continue on forever spending and bankrupting everything, stealing all the money for themselves. And so all they can do is just say, different races, different parties, you just fight with each other. So don't buy into it, ladies and gentlemen. They've got handlers on the right and handlers on the left that are all there to make you just fight with each other. Coming up at the end of the show, I'm going to play a clip from 1974 with an individual predicting everything that's now happened. And he wrote what he was giving a speech on back in the 50s, but in his speech in the 74, he was breaking down what he had predicted back in the 1950s. And it's now all been declassified. It is public. It is available knowledge. And we know that we are inside a world government with a global group of private banks, a corporate takeover of every free nation on earth. And they play the inhabitants of the nations off against each other. And that's all that's happening here. And that's what these people's jobs, like Garofalo and Glenn Beck and others' jobs are. They are to get us fighting in a left-right paradigm with each other. Don't be suckers. Okay, let's go to the calls here. George, I can't see on my call. It says West something. Where are you calling from, George?
West Columbia, Texas. First capital of Texas.
Welcome.
Yes. The thing is about Rick Perry all of a sudden coming out for sovereignty and against oppression. I don't really, the feedback I'm getting from people here is like they don't really believe what he's saying, but they say he's got perfect hair.
Absolutely. And look, Rick Perry barely could win a three-way race for governor. He got 39% of the vote. He is a political dead duck, but he was summoned to the Bilderberg Group in 2007 illegally. It's in my film Endgame. That's illegal. You're not allowed to go to these. It's a violation of the Logan Act to go set policy overseas with private groups. He, again, when the whole legislature said no to handing our roads over to foreign private interest, hijacking it, when people said no to the HPV shots, all of it, he lost all credibility. So he's trying to hijack the Tea Parties and make it a right-wing issue. And the left wants that to happen, too, so they can divide the American people instead of having a populist movement against the globalists. This is divide and conquer. Let's go ahead and talk to Paul in California. Paul, you're on the air. Welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Alex.
Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to first of all say thank you for all the hard work and research that you do. You're a great American. And also for the Obama deception. It's really woken up quite a lot of people out here in California. And what I kind of wanted you to comment on...
Let me just say, it is the #1 film on the web. Now, I haven't counted it up in the last week and a half, but it was 15 million views in 3 weeks. Free, just on the internet sites I checked. And it's just absolutely amazing. This film is sending shockwaves across the nation. Go ahead.
Absolutely. What I kind of wanted you to comment on was the global currency. What kind of a timeline do you think we're looking at for that?
Already have it.
Right. And B, what I was kind of wondering is, at what point do you think that they're going to ditch the U.S. dollar and go ahead and openly announce that we have to switch to this new currency?
Okay, let me break down what's happening. Remember, 99% on average per country. Some countries have as high as 3% reserves. Some countries have, like Zimbabwe or something, they might have 20% of it in actual paper money, but most nations it's less than 1%. But Zimbabwe is so hyperinflated. So in the United States, 99+% of the money is digital. And they're called SDRs. And we got a bunch of mainstream articles linked up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com today about it if you like. But just Google SDRs or global currency and click news, and you can read them explaining it, but saying, it's the answer to the crisis they created. And so you have the IMF, the World Bank, that are kind of the fronts for the International Bank of Settlements, this private consortium of privately owned banks. They issue to the governments these SDRs. And the governments then claim they can print and issue more currency and credit and liquidity because the private bankers have issued SDRs. So it's like a new form of bond or issuance. It's complex, but it's also simple. And we cover it in the Obama deception, but they are now, in fact, I have an article on it right here, actually in my stack, but if I go to it, I won't have time to take all your calls. But the second part of your question is, when will they kill the dollar? And the answer is, not for decades. And my stupid parallel or analogy or metaphor, I guess, would be, what are there, 10, 15, 20 different versions of Sports Illustrated every month? I don't know. They've got different college ones and different sports ones and different region ones, but it's all issued by Sports Illustrated. Here's another analogy. The national ID card. I read the executive order in 2000 and I keep getting the years wrong. In 1997 by Bill Clinton. He signed it in 1993, but I found out about it in 2007. It's in my first film, America Destroyed by Design. And it says in there, we now have a national ID card, globally standardized. And then in 2000, they officially standardized it in a UN treaty that the majority of world nations in the world signed on to. And so by 2000, we had a world ID card. It's just it says United States ID. And it even has a state issue. The states are federalized, but they issue one. It's like a grocery store, says HEB number 50 or whatever, but it's still owned by the same company. So just like we have a world ID card, but it's standardized down to the Texas driver's license. It has that sub-designation. Kind of like your zip code is a federal number, but you have 7 at the beginning of Texas. You understand? And it's set up under that system. That's what GPS is globally. I mean, all this is global, folks. They can shoot a cruise missile down your chimney. I mean, that's how plotted out. The zip code is actually a missile targeting grid. See, it's all Pentagon designed. The face scanning cameras, the national ID cards, the body scanners at the airports, put you in a biometric database, taking your blood at birth, taking your blood now or your tissue swab out of your cheek at checkpoints, they're announcing. It's all Pentagon design. It runs everything. DARPA runs everything. They created the internet. They created the global standards. They run it all. They dole out the advanced technologies. They're 30 years ahead of what they're showing you at least. God knows what they've already got off planet. And I've got that from high-level NASA engineers that are retired who literally start shaking when they tell me about it. But I don't get into all the stuff you can't handle that you're not ready to hear. Okay? I'm getting close, though. Yes, folks, we are in a frozen technological level arguing about Republicans and Democrats, which is a false mental projection. It's a total fraud. They're already off-world big time. There's space planes, space stations, everything. We'll be right back.